You know what's actually going on when your boomer dad lectures you about homeownership? Or when your Gen X coworker has a 6-month emergency fund but still drives a 2009 Civic? Or when your 24-year-old cousin put half his paycheck into Dogecoin? It's not stupidity. It's not laziness. It's not entitlement. Every single one of those behaviors makes complete sense once you see what each generation was handed and what got taken away. Here's what nobody tells you. Your money habits aren't really yours. They're survival code, written by a system that kept changing the rules every decade, then told you the problem was your spending habits. Let me show you exactly how it happened. Before we go generation by generation, you need to understand one thing: the Great Risk Transfer. For the last 70 years, financial risk has been quietly moving in one direction, away from governments, away from employers, toward you. Pensions became 401s. Stable jobs became restructuring. Affordable. Housing became an investment vehicle. Each time, the message was the same. This is just how money works now. Adapt. And every generation did adapt. They built money habits that made perfect sense in the world they were actually living in. The tragedy is that we then turned around and judged those habits without ever looking at what created them. So let's look. Let's go all the way back. It's 1952. You just got back from the war, or your dad did. Manufacturing is booming. Unions are powerful. You can buy a house on one salary, put your kids through college without going broke, and retire with a pension that pays out until you die. The deal was simple, and it actually worked. Show up. Stay loyal. The system takes care of you. So what money habits did that world create? Cash was sacred. Debt was shameful. Saving wasn't a strategy. It was a moral value. And loyalty to your employer was just what decent people did. Here's the thing nobody says out loud. The silent generation didn't build those habits because they were wise. They built them because, for a specific window in history, those habits actually worked. They got one of the most financially protected environments in modern history and assumed it was just how life worked. That assumption, that the system is basically fair if you just do the right things, became the ghost standard every generation after them gets measured against. And it was never coming back. Boomers walked into that same glowing post-war world. But the cracks were already forming. And right when they needed to start saving for retirement, something happened. The pension quietly died. And in its place, companies rolled out a shiny new product: the 401k. It was sold as freedom. You're in control of your retirement. You're an investor now. What it actually was: the first mass transfer of retirement risk from employers onto individual workers. An entire generation of people who were not financial professionals were handed the job of managing their own retirement through market volatility, and told that owning a home was the other half of the plan. So yeah, they got obsessive about real estate. They clung to their portfolios. They built entire identities around work because work was their safety net. From the outside, that looks like stubbornness or greed. From the inside, it's one thing: my house and my 401k are my life raft, and I will not let go. They weren't greedy. They were the first test subjects in a retirement experiment nobody told them they were enrolled in. Now things get darker. Gen X. Gen X watched institutions make big promises, then watched them break those promises, then watched them act surprised anyone was upset about it. Their parents got laid off in the 80s and 90s after 20 years of loyalty. The dot-com bubble burst right as Gen X entered the workforce. Then 2008 hit, right when they'd done everything right: degree, job, house, family, and the floor dropped again. At some point, your nervous system stops believing in the floor. So Gen Xers built money habits that don't require trusting the floor. Emergency funds that are almost embarrassingly large. Multiple income streams before side hustle was a hashtag. A deep, personal distrust of anyone in a suit who promises security. They're not pessimists. They're people who've been shown, repeatedly, that the formula can change without warning. So they prepare for everything, trust almost nothing, and quietly amass more wealth than most people expect. Because they never stopped saving, even when they didn't believe it would work. Psychologists call it defensive pessimism. Gen X calls it Tuesday. Then came the generation handed the worst script of all: Millennials. The script millennials were handed was painfully clear. Go to college. Take loans if you have to. It's an investment in yourself. Get a degree, get a career, buy a house. You'll be fine. What they weren't told, tuition was about to explode. Wages were about to stagnate, and 2008 was going to blow up the job market right as they graduated. The system did something genuinely brutal here. It shifted the financial risk of entering adulthood onto 18-year-olds who had no way to understand what they were signing. Then it handed them inescapable debt and a job market that had already restructured around the assumption that workers were disposable. So what habits did that build? Renting as a default because the dream of ownership got repriced out of reach. Spending on travel and experiences because every long-term promise turned out to be unreliable. Constantly working multiple jobs because one income stream was never actually stable. When older generations say, stop buying lattes, they're genuinely missing the psychology here. If every big long-term promise has failed you, house, career, retirement, spending on something you can actually control right now isn't irresponsibility. It's the logical conclusion of watching the future evaporate. If the future is a lie, I'm at least going to feel alive today. That's not a character flaw. That's a rational response to broken promises. Gen Z, born into all of it, and grew up in the wreckage. They watched their parents stress about 2008. Then they got a pandemic. Then inflation. Their financial education didn't come from a bank. It came from TikTok, Discord, and YouTube channels that sometimes actually knew more than the banks did. And the products they were handed? Zero commission trading apps with confetti animations when you make a trade. Crypto exchanges marketed as democratized finance, options trading on a phone, a constant feed of someone else's curated wealth. So their money habits hold two beliefs in total tension at once. The traditional path is broken, and maybe you can gamble your way out. The YOLO trades in meme stocks. The swings between extreme hustle and complete apathy. The feeling of being permanently behind on a timeline that was never realistic to begin with. To older generations, it looks insane. But think about the actual logic. If small, safe moves won't save me and the game is already rigged, then either I hit a home run, or what was the point of playing carefully anyway? That's not immaturity. That's what happens when you hand someone an inherited financial trauma and a casino that fits in their pocket. Zoom out and you'll see the same psychological pattern dressed in different clothes across every single generation: loss aversion, scarcity mindset, and the deep exhaustion of learned helplessness, the feeling that no matter what you do, the rules can change and take it away. Because here's what nobody talks about. Every generation's bad habit was actually a smart adaptation to the world they were living in. The silent generation's frugality made sense. The boomers' house obsession made sense. Gen X's paranoia made sense. It all made sense. The system just kept changing what sense meant. And every one of those fears is monetized. Fear sells gold and annuities. Desperation sells payday loans and buy now, pay later. Hope sells crypto schemes and trading courses. Your bad money habits aren't random. They're scars. And in most cases, they're someone else's business model. So the next time you find yourself judging how someone else handles money, or feeling ashamed of how you do, ask the real question first. What were they handed? What did they watch happen? What promises got made and quietly broken before they ever had a chance to build something? Your money habits aren't a personality flaw. They're a nervous system, remembering every time the floor gave way. And the first step to actually changing them? Stop blaming yourself for surviving the experiment you were put in. Drop a comment. Which generation are you? And does this match how you think about money? Subscribe if you want the deeper dives.